Hi, beautiful faces. I want it on. And I want another one over there. And another one over there. Is it too loud for you?
No, it's fine.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming, and we're going to spend the first few minutes resetting our consciousness so we're present. So we're here. And we the more I do these practices, the more I realize that there are triggers in your spiritual development where you begin to step into the body of the thing you will become. So this is one of those triggers. Your mind coming in here allows you the freedom away from all the other distractions to say, this is where I play with that future self. This is where I get to taste and feel what it's like to be that better self, that future Buddha you. Yeah? If you're seeking enlightenment, which is, I guess, the goal here, this is where you get to step into it, consciously. So please allow yourself the next 2 hours to be that special being. And if you were that special being, how would you hear these things? How would you internalize these things? How would you search for meaning in these things? And then you can you already start with a result. So we're going to start with a result in a short meditation. Anybody here not meditated before properly? Just keep kidding. Telephone's off, unless that means vibrate off as well. No Buddha ain't gonna call us today on the telephone. Just make sure you take a comfortable seated position. And after we begin our motivation, I can't teach you until you request the teaching. In fact, it won't land to you until you request the teaching. So find some part of yourself that says, I really want to learn something today. And then offer something in exchange for that. Imagine the highest possible evolution of a being and offer them what this is, a perfect world, a universe of perfection. And you're saying, if I can create that in my mind, I offer it to you in exchange for teachings. It's like a nice bribe, really. So, who's good at this stuff? Oh, you want to have a go? Thank you. Geshe metotram viradunchindam pari sangha shindu nitevargi dropunam dashinajipasho Iram Guru Ratnamandakam Ratayami Kam Toki Tognam Ram Janchir Vardu Dakni Gapsuti Daki Jinyangi Petonam Ki Drola Benchir Sangadrapasho Jirang Taki Jognama Janchir Vardu Akni Gapsuchi Daki Jinyangi Pretonam Ki Drola Benchir Sangadrapasho Jirang Taki Jognama ki chen yang gi pe sonam ki rola penjir sange drupar shoro. So take a comfortable seated position and get ready to see yourself as something special. More special. The key here for your body is that your base is very firm, triangle between your buttocks and your knees. Your stomach's a little bit in from the navel in, it's pulling in just a little bit, which is keeping your back firm and straight. Your eyes are almost shut, enough to let in light and not shade. And just breathe, just be breath for a little bit. We're going to step away from the being that you normally inhabit, and we're going to leave that being like you step out of a skin and you're leaving it outside the door. And then you're going to get to be the essence, the very core of who you are. So you get a chance to put on a different suit in the next few minutes. With each breath, transform the inside of your body. So each inhale, as the air comes into your body, it dissolves every aspect of the inside of you. Just naturally breathe and watch until your organs and your bones and the inside of your skin becomes translucent and disappears, revealing in its place a magnificently infinite blue sky inside the shape that is you. Do that for a few rounds of breath. Every perception, every sensation, every sound, every movement of your chest, all of it translates into more deep blue sky inside. Every time you become aware of something, it creates a bigger space of blue inside. You can expand that space of blue by scanning your forehead and seeing if it's frowning, and as you relax it, it creates a whole new sector of blue sky inside. As you relax your shoulders, the same. Until you cover an infinite space inside. And now consider who you are perceiving this, where you are perceiving this. With that awareness of you and all expansive you, I'd like you to please call upon the future Buddha or future enlightened being or evolved being that you can become. At some place in the future, you already know everything. You've achieved a state of enlightenment. Your body is different. Your mind has the similar seed as what it has now. And they can hear you through your motivation, and they come. That future you're inviting to come and help you reach that spot. So they sit in front of you in meditation posture, mirroring you. Look upon that being. Look inside that being and see how they see the world. Feel their presence right in front of you. It's just you and them, very intimate. Scan their eyes. Read their mind. Feel what it's like to feel their heart. They are perfect. Now thinking of those qualities, offer them something in gratitude for coming. It could be the most beautiful thing you've seen or you imagine, some effort you put towards improving a goodness that you did in your life recently. Offer it to them. And you build some closeness between the two of you. Now imagine that they can see every motivation, every thought, every emotion you've had and will have. And at this point in time, there's one very recent action or space of mind that you're not too proud of, something that keeps bugging you in your mind. Maybe you did some negative act in the world, had some moment of anger, some heavy mental disturbance that prevents you from improving. And open that up to them, the seeing. And in the seeing, it generates a deep sense of regret in your heart. Had you had a different state of mind, you wouldn't have done that. So generate some clear regret in front of them for that action. Make a promise to yourself that you'll keep a vigilant eye to not do that again for a time, for as long as you can. So it won't disturb the world around you and yourself. And somehow in making that commitment, it improves things, your state of mind. Now do the opposite. Think of the most amazing thing you've been able to accomplish mentally or physically in the world by bringing some goodness to the immediate world around you. Maybe you defeated a moment of anger. Maybe you doubled your effort towards some other goodness. And share it with this being in front of you. They can see how this is the step to perfection, one of the steps to perfection. feel a deep sense of joy. Find it in your heart to recognize that you have done some great stuff. Wish it to expand. And think of how many other people in the world are doing the same. Small acts of goodness, of truth, that improves their states of mind and the world at large. And feel some joy for their efforts. Feel a deep joy for their efforts. Now return your focus to that being in front of you, that future you, the perfect you. Ask them to please teach you, since they are connected to your consciousness, to appear at every point where they can help you learn, help you evolve, avoid suffering, and get closer to bliss. So that every experience of your mind becomes a lesson or a teaching from them, that they highlight for you every opportunity, good or bad experience, and it brings you closer to where they're at. Ask them please to teach you that. And you see in their smile that they agree. And then ask them please to always stay close by until you reach that state. Now try and imagine them as a whole being. Either see them or feel them. Imagine their inner qualities and their outer appearance. And find in them the thing that is similar to you now. It could be a feeling or it could be a thing that you see. That will let you recognize them when they come to you in the future. Now watch them rise above your head and turn the same direction that you're facing, and shrink down to the size of a thumb. And they sit just above the crown of your head and they turn bright with light. Their wisdom and compassion is bright and strong. That you sit above your head as a crown. And when you're ready, please, you can come back and open your eyes. So try and inhabit that space for as much as you can for the remaining part of the class. So who wasn't here last week? Shame on you. No, kidding. So last week, what did we cover for those of you that were here? It's an interactive class. Remember, my 50% is to go blah blah, your 50% is to go, oh, that's right, I got it. So what'd you get? Someone? Anyone? Going once? Going twice?
About the Buddha jewel and the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel?
Yep. We talked about the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and the Sangha jewel. These are the three objects of refuge. So the three things that Buddhists go to refuge for. That's good. So what is the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and the Sangha jewel? First of all, what's the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? No. The Buddha jewel and the Sangha jewel and the other three jewels. What's a Buddha? Come on, it's interactive.
An enlightened being.
Huh?
An enlightened being.
An enlightened being. Good. Like a mung being or a different kind of being?
Being.
Oh, being. Sorry, got it. That was my first of very good jokes for tonight. An enlightened being. What's an enlightened being?
Someone who knows what to give up and take.
Say that again.
Someone who knows what to give up and take.
Oh, that's lovely. Is it?
Someone who knows all things and also knows all things.
Uh-huh. So give me. We'll talk about the qualities of a Buddha at the end. What else did we talk about last class? Come on, to help the others catch up, the ones that weren't here. Cliff, you can jump in now.
We talked about the difference between the ultimate and parent Buddha, Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel, and then we talked about what that meant.
Yep.
And we discussed, we haven't mentioned yet what the Dharma jewel is and what the Sangha jewel is.
Okay, so just give us a brushstroke on what's a Buddha jewel, a Dharma jewel, and a Sangha jewel.
Well, in terms of the parent Sangha jewel, the Buddha would be, we could consider any enlightened being, or particularly Shakyamuni Buddha. In terms of the Dharma, we would talk about the teachings, the spoken words, the written words that we study. And in the apparent Sangha jewel, there's many definitions. It could be anything from the community of monks and the Sangha, this group that's here.
Yep.
It could be a group of 5 arhats or aryas, which was back in the olden days. Kind of hard to get 5 of those guys together these days. And that would be the apparent that we could see. And then on all of them, the ultimate is the Buddha within ourselves. That's our ultimate nature, which is that of all things, the emptiness of all things, which doesn't separate us from any other Buddha. And then in terms of what the Sangha jewel, the Dharma jewel, in terms of what the ultimate is the realization of those teachings that we were discussing within ourselves.
So you're saying the Dharma jewel is the realization of those teachings within ourselves. Okay.
Yes. And the Sangha jewel could be the realization of these teachings in another individual, which we can go to access.
Right. So in my mind, to simplify that again, it's the emptiness of a Buddha. Emptiness of a Buddha's mind is the same as the emptiness of you as a Buddha's mind will be the same as the emptiness in your mind now. The emptiness that you have in your mind now will be the same as the emptiness of you as a Buddha's mind. Does that make sense? So it's something to do with its emptiness, the ultimate nature of things. The Dharma, we also talked about the Dharma. The word Dharma means a realization or a thing. Yeah? And the highest or the ultimate Dharma is the ultimate realization is seeing emptiness, that realization of all things being devoid of a nature of their own. Yeah? And that has that's massive implications, which is the course of why we're doing these teachings. So the Dharma jewel is emptiness. That realization of seeing emptiness directly. When you're in that, abide in that space, that's Dharma jewel. And Sangha jewel is a being who has had that experience. Now, what can that protect you? Because we talked about refuge being an act of protection, right? And you need 2 things. Last week we talked about it. We need 2 things for something to be refuge, just a regular worldly refuge. What are the 2 things you need?
Fear.
You need to be scared of something. Yeah. Good. Fear. And we have it all the time. And then the next thing? Yeah, I just don't like the word faith when applied here, because to me it invokes all my Catholic, faith, it's not that kind of faith. But we'll actually give the definition today, but it's this belief that some other thing can help you. So you go to that. But my sister used to stare at me across the table and poke faces, and that was scary. So I'd go to my mum for refuge and go, Mum, Alex is looking at me. And so I really, truly, deeply believe that my mum could do something to stop the negative emotions that I was having about my sister pulling faces. We go to refuge all the time. There is nothing you don't do that's not refuge. Every movement is a refuge. You get up out of bed to do something, it's a refuge. You're hoping to get something. And you really think that thing you're heading towards will help you. Blah, blah, it's very quiet in here today. I think we have to shake that up. So, last week we talked about the objects of refuge. So that was a quick summary. Cliff, can you do me some notes? Actually, who can write Tibetan? Sam, can you do it?
English Tibetan?
Yeah.
Phonetic Tibetan.
Phonetic Tibetan. Does someone have the class notes? No.
Yes.
You do? Excellent. So I would like Samuel, por favor.
Does anybody have any homework they want to turn in while we're getting organized?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, if you want to do homeworks and quizzes, put up your hand, because they're over there. Can you give me that?
I have the quizzes and the readings.
Yeah, just that. No English, just that. That, and that, separate, because that's 4. And that's 5. Yeah. In terms of that. That's all. Okay, so last week we talked about what are the objects of refuge, yeah? And I think I left you with a task last week. Do you remember what the task was? Did anybody listen last week?
To think about
Should I
what it
just
would
go
be
on?
like to have perfect consciousness.
What was that?
To think about what it would be like to have a perfect consciousness.
Yeah, I asked you to think about through the week, to start stepping into that space of what would it be like if you could have a perfect consciousness. If you could evolve to such a state beyond your limited thinking of what you can evolve now, what would that feel like? What would that be like? What would that taste like? How would you see the world? Because what I don't want these classes to be is just a passing time, because it's precious time that you're giving of your life now. And if you become too accustomed that this is just a normal thing that you listen to, if it's just another worldly normal, like going to the latest bar or reading the latest edition of Mad or something, if it's just a thing, it's just a normal thing. In fact, the protection, the ultimate protection in things, and we'll talk about it in depth today. You saw that emptiness was the key to all those things. There is an emptiness to these teachings. There is no good teaching coming from my mouth to you. There is no nature of enlightened anything coming out of these words to you. It is empty of that nature, what you're hearing. But how they land in you, and for each of you it is different, is caused by something. So the words don't have an essence of their own to invoke in you an enlightened state of mind. The way they land in you can turn that into an enlightened state of mind. But it didn't come from here. It came from something else. And if you could figure out what the bloody hell that is, because the words could land there and go, I'm bored, I've heard it all before, that's interesting, oh my God, I've heard that 20 times, but this time it's something amazing, oh my God, I never thought of that, I've lived all this life and I didn't think about that. what just happened to me? My mind is shifting, and like you could have any one of those spectrums from these words, and it's got nothing to do with the words. It's coming from something else. The Buddhist terms, that's karma. It's a cause. Something caused that in your consciousness, in your stream, and that begins with the way you listen to this stuff. The motivation that you have for hearing it, the energy and effort you put towards notching it up, making it something. And that has just nailed in a cause that must flower in the future, because this is empty screen, because this is empty words. You've just nailed something in your stream of consciousness that, if fed properly, can evolve into the most amazing experience. Emptiness of the teachings. My 50% is to go blah blah. I could sit here and go blah 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 blah. And some of you go, oh my God, I've never heard that before. So, we talked about the objects of refuge. If what I just told you is true, and then you could figure out how to do that cause and effect thing because things are empty, that's ultimate protection, people. That can stop everything from hurting, if you could figure out that. Ultimate protection. We'll talk about that today. So last week we talked about the objects of refuge, the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, the Sangha jewel. Now we're going to talk about what it is to go for refuge. So last week we talked about Mummy. Mum, Alex is looking at me. This week we're going to talk about what it's like to have that experience of shifting my feeling and going, over there, Mum. Yeah? So I found my mum. It's the objects of refuge. They are always there, by the way, the Dharma jewel, the Sangha jewel, and the Buddha jewel. The objects of refuge are always there, always available, always present. But we don't always run to Mummy, because we think, the sex is fun, the work is great, the money in the bank is fantastic, the boyfriend and the girlfriend are lovely, until they're not. And then we ask for money. So, has anybody not heard of this idea of going for refuge? Because I didn't until I met Buddhism. Anyone? Not heard it before, this idea of going for refuge? Because there's nominal refuge in Buddhism. You have a refuge ceremony in Buddhism. In fact, we all do refuge 3 times before we start class. We go, I go to refuge for the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. Is that refuge? Does that protect you? Are you saying that doesn't protect you, Sam?
No, yeah, it doesn't.
So what do you do?
Well, you are learning it because if you put your mind in the right place and you actually feel the intended emotion and intended movement of mind behind the words that you're saying, then you would be getting refuge.
Awesome. The words, the nominal words don't do refuge. Yeah, going for a refuge ceremony where a monk comes into town. I saw 7 amazing Tibetan Buddhist monks, all Geshes, coming out of the subway today. I'm like, whoa! And then I saw this Tibetan woman in traditional Tibetan dress, like 2 blocks later. I'm like, whoa! And I missed going for refuge when I saw the monks. I was so excited that I see them. I'm like, oh, I forgot to think about it, right? I thought about it in all my worldly, oh, isn't that cool? We're Tibetans, I know Tibetan. Oh, damn. And then half a block later, I saw this Tibetan lady, and she wasn't a monk, but I took refuge in my understanding of what this lady was doing, appearing to me in a specific way. So the Buddhists have these refuge prayers, which will go, I go to refuge for the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, blah, blah, blah.
But blah, 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 blah words.
It's in there. It doesn't matter what the blah, blah, blah words are. What I'm trying to say is that saying the words doesn't give you any protection unless your motivation is right. doing the refuge ceremony, where a monk or a nun, like the 7 monks that I saw, would come into town, we'll have a refuge ceremony, you get a refuge name, and hi, your name is Dorje Senpa, da 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 da. You walk away and you go, thank you very much. Now you have refuge. You don't have refuge. It doesn't protect you unless you have something else going on in your home. And that's hopefully what we're going to learn today. We know what can protect us, the 3 objects of refuge, but what's it actually to have that experience, that state of mind to go for refuge. So having a refuge name will not protect you. Doing blah 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 will not protect you, but it can. In fact, you could do, I don't know, some other kind of invocation or prayer or thought with different words, but if your state of mind is the right state of mind, you will have protection. You will have refuge. Refuge from what? I have to think about it. Okay, actually the Tibetans, they have this saying where, I don't know, there's this pavilion and it's pouring out rain. There's this pavilion, it's pouring rain, and they say that going for refuge this way, like doing the prayers for refuge or thinking of your refuge name, whatever, it's like standing in the middle of a pouring field of rain. It's just pouring rain in monsoon season, and there's a pavilion there, real shelter, and you're sitting there going, shelter, 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 shelter. Oh, go to refuge for the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. But going for refuge means actually going under there, having the state of mind to get under the bloody thing and be covered. So they have this joke that many people are standing outside going, pavilion, 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 pavilion. They don't actually go for refuge. So let's not do that. Say after me. This is the definition for refuge. Say after me. Yul. Shenla. Rang Top Ki. Rewa. Chawe. Sempa. Kamdre. Senyi. Okay, so Yul, for those of you who are doing this part of thing, and you'll see some of these words appear throughout the courses, means object. Yul means object. Shenla means another, two. La, you'll see two, for, of, La ends up being those kind of words. Another, two. Rang is itself, Rang Top Ki is itself powered by. Rewa is hope. Chawe is to put all, or it says all, but it means to put all your hopes on. And Sempa is sometimes people say it's thought, but it's not. It's a movement of mind. A Sempa is a movement of mind, and this concept of movement of mind will be important when we study karma. Sempa. Kamdre means going for refuge. And Senyi is definition. Senyi, they used Senyepa. I think they're called monks that have stopped being just little monks that help around the monastery and start actually studying logic and definitions and all the in-depth textual stuff. They're called Senyepas, because they've just gone, okay, I'm done with all the water bowls and all the cleaning of the monastery. I actually want to study the meaning behind all these words, all the definitions, all the tsenyis. So they're called Senyepas. You're all Senyepas. We're sitting here dissecting texts to try and find the meaning that we can then apply to our everyday. So you're all Senyepas. So object another to itself, powered by hope or movement, going for refuge definition. So you all got what that means now? Yeah, thank you. No, so it is that thought which of its own power puts all its hopes in another or external object. It's that thought which of its own power puts all its hopes into another object. That's the definition of going for refuge. Why is this important, I ask you? Why is it important to actually think about it in these terms? To actually start defining what going for refuge is. Why is that important?
Because renunciation is the first step and to realize that you want to get out of where you are, first you need someone helping you.
Excellent, fantastic. So in applying it to ACI 1, which is the first of the 18 courses that we just finished, yeah, we got taught, or we learned that there are 3 principal paths. Yeah, at the very root, there's 3 states of mind that can get you out of suffering. And the first one is, the first of the 3 lumps or paths is renunciation. Yeah, and that's got something to do with this energy to go for refuge. Right? It's like, I'm sick and tired of this. I want my money. Right? In terms of this. So understanding what that means will let inform you whether or not you're doing it right for yourself. Yeah, so these things are there for you to figure out. You have to make them applicable to you. I can't do that for you. So, by the way, this is not going for Buddhist Refuge yet. This is just going for refuge. You do this all the time. So let's say there are 2 kinds of refuge. There's Buddhist Refuge, because all you have to do is insert, let's say, as though a thought which of its own power puts all its hope into, you can just put 3 joules object. That would be Buddhist Refuge. Other than that, it's just regular everyday refuge, which we do and we're used to and we have a habit for all the time. Who had food in the last 24 hours? Who thought that it would help them? Yeah, why would you have it otherwise? Getting out of bed and going anywhere is this impulse that something's going to fix it. Getting that great job, that promotion, even all our bloody do-gooder activity that we do. We think somehow, in some ignorant way, that that's going to make us happy. Yeah, there's this and when you take a really big step back, getting that great job, having a beautiful vacation, enjoying your look as you look at yourself in the mirror, you've got beautiful skin, you have nice friends, all those things will go away, all of them, without exception. I was looking at a picture of, is it Brigitte Bardot? I'm sitting at a coffee shop, because for me, coffee shops are a place of refuge. Seriously, quite ignorant. And there's this table with paper mache, like they cut out porn magazines and they just put glitter all over the bits, so you can't see all the bits. But there's this picture of Brigitte Bardot, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Brigitte Bardot, and she looks stunning, beautiful. So I go to my iPhone and I look for Brigitte Bardot today. Not so stunning. Nothing like that. And it was really shocking to see this person that was amazingly beautiful. You know, and she wasn't the only one going to refuge in her own beauty. You know, we all did. It's like, how stunning, and we get this beautiful pleasure. None of the things that we go to refuge for in our everyday lives, none of them last. All of them we have to say goodbye to when it's all said and done. So if we take a really big level perspective, high level perspective of all the efforts we put into everything in the world, how many of those things are really refuge? Really help us? How many of those are just wasting our time? Now, going to work and earning your dollar so you can pay your rent, so you're not a burden on other people, that's going for refuge. And that, you get refuge for a week, a month, you know, you do, but it just doesn't last. And yet, we engage in these activities as if it's the thing that will solve it to you. I don't know about you, but every time I got excited about the next job, the next relationship, the next big idea, I thought this was it. Happiness, I mean, we have it in films and stories, and they lived happily ever after. And they lived happily ever after. So we have this wrong idea that the things we engage in are going to give us satisfaction, ultimate satisfaction. And then we're upset. If you don't have this idea, you never get upset. If you get upset, if you get disappointed, if things don't work out, if you're ever angry, if you're ever sad, you've put your hopes on something that didn't work out. Think about it the last time you got disappointed. And then track back, at what point did you actually believe that was going to solve your problems? And the reason we get into that trouble of this nominal refuge is because we don't understand causality. We think the cause of the happiness and the unhappiness is that thing. The good looks, the long hair, the relationship. You know, kissing is amazing, right? Kissing is beautiful, right? People like kissing. I give you one or two things to kiss and you're like, oh no, thank you. It can't come from the kissing. Yes. What I'm saying is that we have this skewed idea of how the world functions because of our condition. We're forced to see the world in a certain way. So we have this silly, ignorant cause and effect idea about how things function. So we go for the kissing, thinking we're going to be happy, you know, and then after a little while we're like, that doesn't work anymore, so let's find new lips, you know, see if they work. They don't work either after a while or something. You know, why? Why? Because we think it comes from that thing. In fact, any movement, any experience, any goodness or negative thing that's happening inside of you, regardless of how you interact with things, comes from you seeding that experience in your mental consciousness. It's a bigger timeline. Bigger timeline. And we don't see that. Which is the cause of all our problems. That's the ignorance that we have. If we understood where things really came from, that you could only ever have a sweet, beautiful sensation from kissing a thing because you've only ever wished and made efforts to give a beautiful sensation to every other thing around you, in your consciousness, imbued it, colored your mind that way. And then it grew like a magnificent forest in your mind. Then it didn't matter whether you were kissing a rose or a frog, you'd have the same sensation. Yeah? You're the rose, not the frog. So we do this all the time. In the Tibetan text, they talk about, so this idea of us going for worldly refuge to everything, every action that we do. One of the first stories that got me was Ken Rinpoche was talking about, no, it was Geshe Michael Roach. He was learning from a Tibetan monk, and they didn't talk very much, and this Tibetan monk took him down to the side of the freeway, and they sat there for hours. And Geshe was like, okay, yeah, I got the point now, let's go. He's like, no, just watch. And so they're watching traffic going, and traffic going, and traffic going. And then, the monk says, where do you think they're going? Why do you think they're going? And it was this big teaching for Geshe, because he was impatient, but then he realized that everybody's moving. Everybody in that car was hoping, those cars that were going constantly throughout the day were hoping to get something that would fulfill them later on. And they were just like, they weren't going to get, because they had to do it tomorrow and the day after and the day after. They were all seeking for something to fulfill them. So it was, now I can't look at traffic the same way. So what would be exceptional refuge? If that's nominal refuge, so there's a relative refuge, which is the one we just talked about, which we do all the time and doesn't last because we don't understand causality. What would be a bigger refuge than that? Ultimate refuge. It would be Buddhist refuge, and it would have something to do with the 3 jewels.
But then what ultimate refuge also, so if you eat something you think it's going to bring you fullness, if you eat something but you're doing it with a higher purpose in mind, then is that ultimate refuge?
It's a beautiful question, because there's this presumption that because of what I just said, that having a relationship, kissing a frog, getting in a car, because that we understand that isn't the way it works, and we're going for refuge in things that don't last. It is a kind of refuge. You get money, you pay the rent, that sort of functions, but then it doesn't ever help you long term. Okay? The presumption is that, we can't do it now. I better not do it. What a way. So I'm going to sit and not do anything. I'm never going to kiss anybody. I'm never going to have a relationship. I'm never going to go to work. What a great excuse not to work. Fantastic. What a great excuse not to connect with anybody, right? Emotionally and all that. It's not what it is. It's not what it is. And Westerners make that mistake a lot. And I'm guilty of it. To think, great, what a beautiful excuse not to engage. It's about the ignorance is in the way we see things. We think they are self-existent. We think that they have a power to them that gives us the feeling we're having. We miss the point that the emotion, the experience we're having does not come from the thing. We miss that altogether. So when we're learning about it, we think, I better not like roses then. If the goodness doesn't come from the rose, I don't want any roses. That's not the thing. If you figure out what it is that triggered that beautiful sensation you have when you're touching and smelling a rose, if you could figure it out, then you could make that happen with a rose, a daffodil, any other object, if you figured it out. And then go ahead and enjoy and plant a garden of roses. Become a rose seller. Yeah? And then you can engage in any worldly activity with correct view.
It's a great question about the food, and it brought to mind, I studied a little bit at a Zen monastery upstate, and when you're there, before every meal they do what's called a gata, and they all chant it together, and basically before you eat, you're giving thanks from where the food comes from and how it's transported to you, and this whole list of things, and then it ends with, you basically, I take this food in so I may have the strength and energy to save and serve all sentient beings. So you're eating that food, and I'm eating this food for the sake of all beings, and it transforms that eating, and it's just changed the whole field of the meal.
Yeah. And you can do that with any activity. If you have the correct view, then you can power up any activity. Yeah. So don't make that mistake to say, because it doesn't work in the normal, I'm not doing it. That's not the case. That's ignorant too. Yeah. So ultimate refuge. So there's two kinds of refuge. Let's call it relative refuge, which is what we talked about, or the worldly way of looking at these things, and ultimate refuge, which is to do with the three jewels. Exceptional refuge, which is what we're going to cover tonight, which is the 5 divisions of exceptional refuge or Buddhist refuge. But what I'd like to do is remove this idea that this is Buddhism for a second. Just piss off Buddhism. Yeah? Because the first person that had this idea, the first person that had, the people that have this experience don't call it Buddhism. You have to have the experience. You see what I'm saying? You have to have a state of mind to go for refuge to a thing like the 3 jewels. What would that be if you didn't know it was called Buddhism? If you woke up in the morning, no one gave you the Buddhist download, yeah? But which is just one of many traditions in the world that has an insight into the way things function. This is just a method, a path. It's a tried path, a resulted path. It's a beautiful path. But I want you to try for yourself to think through the process of you wake up in the morning, and instead of doing the refuge of, I'm going to make myself breakfast because I'm full, I'm getting in that car to that job because it'll save me, I'm going to have a relation, look for a date tonight because something awesome is going to happen later, and etc. and all the other refuges we do. I want you to try and think what it would be like as I explain the list of exceptional refuge, there's 5 divisions of Buddhist refuge. What would it be like if it wasn't Buddhist refuge? What kind of mindset would you have to have And don't forget, refuge has two parts, right? One is your fear of, what would be the ultimate way of thinking about fear? If you're thinking beyond your everyday wants, what would be the ultimate fear? If you could really see from the little hint that I've given you about the explanation of this cyclic existence of life, what would be the biggest realization you could have and the biggest fear you could have?
I have no idea what the hell is going to happen to me in the next second.
Yeah, you got no clue what's happening to you next second, right? The cycles of life that come and go. Yeah? If you add to that the idea that you don't stop when you die. That you don't stop when you die. That everything that you've downloaded, every experience that you've had, every motivation you had is now coded inside your consciousness to produce another experience and another experience, and there's no escape. It's just forever going and going and going. Yeah, if you see the really big picture, that this is not one life, people, and then you're done. Hopefully you have a better experience later. That every single thought you've ever had must be resulted in you as an experience later on. Samsara, this idea of samsara, the cycle of existence upon existence upon existence. When you have that realization, if you can see that as an experience, and then you'd say, what would you go to refuge for? You'd go, that's what you'd be running away from, right? Going, oh my God, there's no stopping this. I don't have a clue what's coming next. Out of all the stuff that's coded in me from my behavior, I've got no clue what's coming next. Because it's not the job that gives me the money all the time. It's not the relationship that gives me the happiness all the time. It's not the doctor that solves my illness all the time. It's not my mum that helps me, doesn't matter how many times I go to her all the time. Maybe 80% of the time, 70% of the time. There's no certainty about having a human life. We walk out the door today, someone might have something happen to them that's not expected. You've got no certainty what happens next. And then you add infinite time to that. Yeah? And because we can't understand cause and effect, we're lost. So that's the fear side. Yeah? And I'm not doing it to scare you, I'm doing it to you to make you consider it. It's a bigger picture than most of us think, what am I doing tonight? What's going to be next week? And we're going to the beach. Some of us think, what would happen the next couple of years? Yeah? The first of the exceptional refuges, say, let's have a look, is it there? Kyebu? No, yeah. Kyebu? Chung? Dring? Chempo? Sum. Say Kyebu? Chung? Dring? Chempo? Sum. One more time for the dummies. Kyebu? Chung? Dring? Chempo? Sum. So Kyebu means person. Chung means small. Tiny person. Not really. Just means small. What's Dring? You had it in class 1. Dring. Remember the 3 types of Yum? Remember the Yum? What's the Yum? Mother. There's 3 divisions of the Prajnaparamita we talked about. So we had the small, the Dring, and then we had the larger, right? So the middle is Dring. Dring is middle. Chempo. Come on, you know Chempo. Someone knows Chempo if you've been great or big or chunky. Yeah, good. It's not chunky. It's big or great. Chunky. Great. It means great. Chempo. Chunky soup. Chempo soup. This is what's called coloring the Dharma. So someone needs to clean it up next round. Sum. Yeah. 3. That's Lam. Nam Sum. 3 principal paths. Good. So person, small, middle, big, great. 3. So the first, out of the 5 exceptional refuges, and these are all refuges to the 3 jewels, but this is 5 states of mind or 5 ways to get ultimate refuge, okay? These are 5 states of mind, if you like, about ultimate refuge onto the 3 jewels. 5 ways of getting to mummy. We know what mummy is. 3 jewels. Going to mummy can take 5 forms. The first 3 the first one is small person or person of small capacity. So this is the very minimum mindset that you must have to have this ultimate refuge, this exceptional refuge. It's Buddhist refuge, but I want you to forget that it's Buddhist refuge. It's a state of mind that really can help you if you have an understanding that you're running away from something that's scary as F. Freddie. Yes. And then you go to one of these 5 mindsets. So you go to the 3 jewels with one of these 5 mindsets. Does that make sense? Right? So don't think of it as Buddhism. Think of it as, if I woke up in the morning and I had this minimum motivation, I would have ultimate refuge. I would have exceptional refuge. And the first one is that shared with a person of small capacity, which is what? A person of small capacity is mostly concerned with what? No. Oh, not being reborn as not having a lower rebirth. And in Buddhist, or in this ideology, lower rebirth means 3 things: appearing as an animal, having an experience of being as an animal, having an experience of being as a hungry ghost or prater, and having an experience of self as a hell being. Okay? That presumes you must believe that there are animals, that there are preters, and that there are hell beings. And some schools of Buddhism, some Western thinkers, some beings, let's call them some beings, really don't think that there are literal hells and literal prater ghosts, that there are literal animals. Has anyone seen any animals lately? And when I've been challenged on this thing as well, because I spent a long bloody time pissing off the idea of hell, thank you very much Catholic priests, and I land myself in Tibetan Buddhist thinking, and it's like, oh, welcome, there's the hell realm. I'm like, get out. I just refuted that in my mind. It doesn't exist. But Nagarjuna talks about it, the Buddha talks about it as a place. And so it'd be wrong of me to tell you that it'd be wrong of me to tell you that I have experienced these places myself. It would also be wrong of me to tell you that after 15 years of study, I think of them as only metaphors. I can't tell you either of those 2 extremes. If you understand the 4 laws of karma, which are, let's have a look. Sorry? Certain. Thank you. That's 1.
Karma grows.
It grows, it expands. So you do a little thing, a tiny seed produces a big result over time. If you don't do it, if you don't plant it, you can't get a tree, right? If you plant it, you must get a tree, right? So if you plant an apple seed, you must get an apple tree. If you do not plant an apple seed, you can never get an apple tree. It's certain, and it expands. If you understand that, and you understand the idea of emptiness, if you understand emptiness to whatever degree you do, and that this experience that you're having is a result of karma and emptiness beautifully coming into being for you to experience yourself as a human, and for an animal coming into this room, and we're both looking at these things together, and their experience of this thing is very different to my experience of this thing in terms of color and texture and meaning. Because of emptiness, because this thing does not have a nature from its own side, informing the consciousness of the animal and informing the consciousness of the human, that forces me and it to see exactly the same thing. Because it is empty of that, it does not have little particles pushing out meaning into both of us. In fact, we are both projecting onto it, based on our past karma, the experience of it onto a blankness. Yeah? Because of that, then I have to tell you that hell beings and Preta beings are plausible. It is possible for me to have an experience of this arm as some other arm, of what could be a brush on my skin as a burning sensation, beyond any suffering that I've experienced as a human. If I've done some kind of hurt, some kind of negative action of my mind that then sat there, certainly ready to grow and expand, and it grew for long enough, and my motivation was dark enough to, if I wanted to hurt you enough, and I did it deliberately and harshly, and I did it to you, and I did it to you, and I did it to you, and those seeds grew with certainty in my mind, I must be forced to experience the result of that through what my mind projects onto emptiness. And in that respect, then you could very physically have an experience of hell or Preta. But can I tell you for sure? No. But can I tell you for sure it's a metaphor? No. And there's something in that. There's something in that that you should abide in. If you have feelings towards that, it's something to think about. What we're saying here is that the person of smallest capacity understands, or their main concern, is that A, they don't know what's happening next, but mostly they don't know what's going to happen to them after they die, and they hope it's not worse. That's the very minimum thought you have to have exceptional refuge. The very minimal state of mind you must have, forget being a Buddhist, as a being, to have an exceptional refuge that can help you, is to say, I have no clue what's going to happen to me after I die, and I hope it's not worse than this. Because as good as this is, it's pretty shitty. I had great hair. Did I tell you that? My jokes are the only thing that are improving. And then you must think, so your first concern is, most of your focus is concerned around, this isn't working, and after this is finished, I just don't want it to be worse than this. That would qualify you for two-thirds of exceptional refuge in the lowest capacity. What else do you need? What else do you need? So you're scared, you're ready to run, you need to go do something, right? Yeah. So that is, you think of the three jewels. Something about the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, something about the idea of emptiness, and something around those beings that have seen emptiness indirectly.
So is the refuge something that you invoke as certain emotions come up?
That's a beautiful question. Yeah, what is refuge, really, you know? So these are states of mind that you have. Yeah, a person that sustains a state of refuge, because we are forever jumping refuge. You know, for me, I'm not sure if they're getting it. They're all looking a little sleepy. Am I talking too long? You know, do I really have to do one of my exceptional jokes? I'm thinking this as I'm looking at you, and so my refuge, my ignorant refuge is, send them out to eat something quick, you know, and give them 10 minutes to wake up so we can come back and really get that motivation. So I'm having ignorant refuge right now, yeah? The minimum refuge you can have to have exceptional refuge is to have a state of mind that recognizes that that what I just thought of will not help me. Why not? Because then I think about the emptiness of what it is that causes this stuff, right? So if I have that on my mind, already I've elevated the refuge. I am taking more proper refuge. And I'm thinking, I don't want it to be worse than this. You see what I mean? Okay, I'm being human right now, I'm having a human experience. Yeah, I take refuge in the 3 jewels with the state of mind to not get worse than what I've got. Yeah? Which takes us to level up, which is a person of medium capacity. So what would be so it would be the second of the 5 exceptional refuges. What would that state of mind have to be? Anyone? Medium capacity. Samuel.
The state of mind would be the 3 jewels is the thing that is going to get me to achieve nirvana.
Great. Okay. So, but explain nirvana, because we're not doing Buddhist terms.
Right.
You get up in the morning and you think, well, for lowest refuge, you get up in the morning and you think, I don't know what's going to happen to me after I die, but I know this whole crap is going down and it's not nice. The very least I could do is please find me not to be worse than what it is. I just want more of this, but not worse. Yeah, in my next life. And so you have this idea of emptiness, of causality, that can help you in that respect. The second, a level up for that is.
So level up would be.
You wake up in the morning.
I wake up in the morning, get up out of bed, and I'm like, you know what? If I go for refuge, it's possible that I could be totally, unbelievably, amazingly happy all the time.
Okay.
I could never ever.
Yep.
Through taking refuge in 3 jewels, I can see how it would be possible through the qualities of these 3 jewels that I would never ever have any kind of mental affliction.
Okay. So what are you running away from? What's the first part of refuge you're running away from? So in the other one, you're running away from being born in the lower realms, right? What's this one? What are you
running away from? Samsara.
You're saying, I'm done with this. Yeah. Even the best part of this is not a good part, because it must end. Even the best part of being human, the nicest part, the nicest smile, the best relationships, all of them I must let go. I'm done with it. There's no Ferrari that will get me happiness. There's not another partner that can get me that ultimate happiness. You can get happinesses in between. Don't get lost in the idea that you can't get a relationship. That's not what I'm saying, people, okay? But you're fed up with the current way of engaging in the world that cannot produce an ultimate happiness. So you're ready for out of this cycle. I'm sick of it. I want to figure it out. Right? With that motivation, you take refuge. So that's what it means to go to refuge as the second of the 5 types of exceptional refuge. Forget Buddhism. This is about you getting up in the morning and saying, I'm sick and tired. I've got some renunciation. There can't possibly be a relationship that I can have that will make me feel fulfilled ultimately. Because the way I've been thinking about relationships today has caused me to give them up, be dissatisfied, if not during the relationship, after the relationship. And if I found the one relationship, I must say goodbye to them as they die or as I die. That's the nature of being here. So that's the second, medium capacity. Yeah, it's about your state of being. It does not mean don't have relationships. Get that? Am I clear?
I have a question.
Yeah.
To me, the definition of the second one sounds more immediate. Like you would want that before you want a rebirth into lower realms.
It's just harder. What's the question? Sorry.
So I just want a clarification in like how that's a little bit more than the first
Sure.
small.
You stop engaging with ignorance with all the things that give you nominal refuge. You know, in the second one, in the first one, you're still happy to come back to a human world and go through all the relationships and all the jobs and have to go through all this stuff again. It presumes that you're happy to come back as a human or as a demigod. And in the wheel of life explanation of what happens in samsara, what kind of experiences you can have in samsara, you're saying, you know, being human is not so bad, I just don't want to be worse than human. So I'll be another human. I'll just go through another relationship breakup, another beautiful body that I have to discard, that the hair will drop off, and you know, I'll get cancer, and I'll have to get a new breast implant, and blah, blah, blah. Seriously, like you say, all the decaying part of being human, the physical and emotional, you're saying in the first level, I'll take that. I just don't want to be a dog. You know, but this is pretty good. I'm happy to go through these sufferings. But it's not like, it's not a competition. I think personally, I'm lucky to jump into that first level every now and then, most of the time. Thinking about what's going to happen when I die. Lucky for me, my dad looks exactly the same as me. I know what I'm going to look like when I die. It's not pretty. Seriously. One day I'm going to bring you the picture. I kept thinking about it. I want to show you the picture of me, and then I'll show you a picture of my dad dead in the coffin. And you can see what I'm going to look like dead. Because every time I see that picture, I think, refuge. And all of you will look that way somehow at some point. No human rebirth will help you. Because you have to come to these classes again. Does that explain why it's the lesser is you have to keep going through the cycle, you just don't want it to be worse. The next one is I'm done with the cycle. I don't want to be human anymore. I want to transcend being human. I don't want to be dog, and I don't want to be dog or cat. I don't want to be ghost or hell being. I don't even want to be human or demigod. Screw that. That's just suffering. Because any goodness that's necessarily and always concluded with a badness, any amazing relationship that must necessarily end is a badness. It's not a goodness overall. So the third or the greater person, the Chempo, what do you think their motivation would be? Cliff.
You mentioned about first one, which is the small refuge, and it seems like a big thing. So why is that the small one? And just real briefly, we have this idea of reincarnation and these different realms to be in is like a big deal, and I believe it. But back when this was done, everybody just took it for granted. Everyone just assumed it. So it's basically the small refuge is, my life sucks. I was born on a plantation. My mother was born on a plantation. I have no hope in this life. I'm praying that that I'm going to die. When I die, I'm going to go to heaven, and I'm going to pray to Jesus or whatever. And that's so it's small. Everyone expects that. Yeah. Then you realize that there's a power that in this life you can find this wonderfulness, and this beauty, and this happiness, and this freedom from suffering. So that's the middle, and then you have the great scope, and that's. Gee, I really this life has worked for me. It's great. It's wonderful. But my family and my friends, and they're still suffering, and they don't get it. And I want them with me, and I want people in the city, and I want them in the country, and I want everybody in the world, and I want my dog, and I want my cat, and I want everybody to have this. And that's the great scope.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's lovely.
Is everything that ends, does it have to be negative? Can't be having an end make the actual experience more valuable? Being the opposite, I've learned the opposite of infinite. The opposite of infinite.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Definite.
If something is definite,
yeah.
Can that actually make the actual experience much more valuable?
Do you have joy when you see a child's face?
Yeah.
Of course you do, right? Do you have joy when you're having a blissful experience? Yeah. Do you love Anahita? Absolutely. So all the love that you've had for Anahita is a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful experience. But if it's ripped from you at some point, and you continue to want it, and you continue to want it, it's a suffering. If you don't understand where it came from, and you long for it afterwards, because you still want it, it's a suffering. can you have beautiful, it's a lovely question. Can you have, am I saying that all goodnesses are badnesses? No, I'm saying it's that honey with a razor blade thing. Yeah? As soon as you taste the goodness, if it's always followed by a cut, then it's a hurt. But if you could figure out that middle scope, the nirvana side, that says, I can abide in the honey, and it doesn't go to the end. You know, and you know how to sustain it. You know what caused it. You have wisdom. You have understanding of where that goodness came from. And if it doesn't expire, then it's a goodness.
But can I see it? Why can I see it that even if it expires, it is still good?
You can. Have a look. Experience your life. Give it a go. You know, if you keep having these separations from goodnesses, and you feel a hollowness, then you know it's not. You know.
Yeah, like if you had achieved the middle scope nirvana,
It's just the wish for, right?
the wish.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what Cliff's talking about, the experience of your life. I mean, it's something I think about all the time. Would things be changing? Would it be just like this one really awesome thing happens, and then like another really awesome thing happens after that?
We're talking about. We're not talking about having achieved nirvana.
Right.
We're talking about the motivation, the state of mind which puts you in that trajectory.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about. We're saying my trajectory for the day, my motivation for my human experience is, at the lowest scope, I just don't want to be worse. In the medium scope is, I think that I can achieve nirvana. I think that I can really get rid of all this transient suffering. Right now, I'm embodied in the perfect blissful experience that is.
I wasn't saying thinking. I was saying really turning this light. I mean,
No, that would be to reach nirvana. But what I'm saying is, this is the going to refuge, to the three jewels, meaning you get up in the day and you have that motivation to head towards that.
But you see that these teachings. Well, you're getting to the next two.
Yeah.
So you want to leave it for the next?
No. What do you mean?
Well, you're seeing that these teachings actually can do this. They have. You don't think it. You don't believe it. You tried it out, and you say, "Gee, it works." You know, I can get in my car and I can drive 60 miles an hour. All I got to do is turn the key. You see that if you do it.
Are you not in samsara now? Is your skin not getting old right now as we're doing these things? I mean, no, I am, and I fluctuate between these refuges. Refuge is going for shelter, but it doesn't mean you've achieved the result. Like I'm stuck in samsara. I don't know about you guys. You might not be, but you're not in nirvana in the second scope.
What I'm saying is, you see that it works. I think this is an important part of refuge. Otherwise, it's just intellectual. You see that it works. All right, you see that, you know that you get underneath that roof, you're going to be dry. Otherwise, what's the point of it?
Mm-hmm.
You see that it works, and then you go, the next time it rains, you know you're not going to hang out in the field and get soaking wet, you're going to run into that thing. So all I'm saying is, if I have a problem or anxiety or I have fear, all right, I don't try and do a drink or a drug anymore or distract myself with this. I actually say, what can I apply these teachings? Do it, and all of a sudden, the clouds disappear, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So I constantly going for refuge,
Correct.
and the more I go for refuge, the more it works.
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah, I just thought you were saying that the second refuge is achieving nirvana. Was that what you were saying?
I wasn't saying
No,
that.
okay, sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought you
Yeah.
said that it was necessary to achieve nirvana for the second refuge.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, even
Yeah.
just a little bit of progress is...
No, of course, that naturally comes from you. That means you're a person of the second scope. If that naturally comes to you, if you think of the three jewels, if you think of the ultimate nature of things applied in those three objects, so then the greater scope is saying, okay, the same, but not just for me, for all these other beings. And then I'll do the next two, and we can have a break. By the way, the third scope, the greater scope, the Chempo is a... Do you think if you have the third one, you don't necessarily have to have the first two?
No way.
You have to, right? Yeah. Okay. That's why they say in the book, scope shared with those of lesser capacity. Okay. So say Drebu, Bui, I don't know, Drebu, Kamdro. So this is result refuge. And what's result refuge? Anyone? We did it already today. Yeah, taking refuge in your future enlightenment. We did it in the meditation. Last class and this class. I want for you to get a feel for what it would be like. Because if you're really going to solve the problems of this world, and you really think that you can achieve a state of being that's beyond your current state of being, then you could find that future you. Got to start figuring out what that feels like, what that tastes like, what that thinks like. So we invited them over, and it would be you taking refuge in your future Buddhahood, in you as a Buddha in the future, when you reach the state of Buddhahood.
Where are all the people that we're bringing with us? Where are all the people that we're bringing with us when we do that? I mean, because...
No, good. How do you get, that's a good question. Where would they be? You tell me. Because if you have...
Well, I don't see how I get there. My understanding is I'm not going to get there on my own anyway.
Correct. So if you've reached Buddhahood, not Nirvana, what must you have to reach that? Bodhicitta. So to have bodhicitta and practice that to a point where you achieve Buddhahood, you must have practiced it really well, so you see every being.
With you.
Yeah. So you're seeing yourself as a Buddha already.
I guess like when we did meditation, I guess what I'm wondering is, why are we only envisioning our body?
It's just one of the 5 divisions of refuge. I mean, you could, but because the one after the 5th of the divisions, you envision yourself in taking refuge in another Buddha, not yourself. So you as a Buddha or others as a Buddha. So you still do it. I just gave you a taste of this one and not the next one, which is what we do in every other meditation that we do. So when we go to refuge to these Buddhas or to an enlightened being, you're taking refuge in other beings being enlightened, other than yourself, beings that you perceive.
Yes, I have a hard time connecting with that feeling.
Which
of
one?
a future enlightened body being without other enlightened beings with me.
But why can't they?
Well, I'm just wondering about the meditation, for instance, that we did where I'm only focusing on my enlightened body. So it's just...
But it doesn't exclude, because you exist as a Buddha doesn't mean that other Buddhas don't exist. And other beings... No, that's... So why would that be a concern?
I guess I'm just... It feels lonely, a bit lonely.
Well, add some people in there. You don't have to be the only Buddha. I didn't say you're the only Buddha.
No, I don't think I would be. I guess I'm just wondering about the meditation.
Yeah.
Is it okay to have people in there?
Well, when you call a teacher, do you invite them with a crowd, or do they come just as a teacher? Initial, other than this meditation.
Well,
honest.
I honestly often invite several teachers.
So that's fine. Do the same. Yeah, it could be you surrounded by all this bunch of other people. But it is very importantly to allow yourself to sit and abide in that space. You have to consider that you can get enlightened, and what that means is you have to see yourself as enlightened. And then what does the view from an enlightened you look like when you look at other beings? Do you see them as shitty, depressed beings, or do you see them as beautiful angels there to...
Yeah, I mean, enlightened beings.
Right, so then the implication is, when you see yourself as a Buddha, and then you take that perspective, you also almost tonglen into the Buddha mind. What do you see outwardly from that mind? Angels.
Jeremy wanted to say something.
By the way, the haircut looks good. Thank you.
I just want to say, I think implicit in the idea of achieving that state is that you're just driven to serve with all needs, right, to help them. So it's like you're not lonely. It's like in that state, your heart is open to everyone and everything that exists. So, you're just showering the universe with love and then maybe means to help them.
Did other people have a hard time? Maybe I described the thing wrong. Did other people have a hard time?
I just have a question, and I think it's related.
Yeah.
For me, like, my main struggle with Buddhism is believing in a past and a future life. Like, that's really hard for me. But like, when you were speaking, I just thought of like thinking of myself as an enlightened, beautiful person. Just like that, not thinking about the future or the past, but just really thinking,
Yeah.
right? Is that a right way to see it? Like, because I know there's people that has experienced past and future lives. I haven't yet,
Okay,
or
that's fine.
remember. But like, I can see myself and the planet and all things and beautiful and like harmonious and perfect and pink. But I can't really, and like I have experienced bliss and deep states of joy, and like that's as far as I can go
Yeah.
so far. Is that the right way of thinking about this fourth point of refuge, or not?
When you can add time to it, and you can perceive yourself what you're going to be like tomorrow and the day after. The minimum form of refuge presumes in past and future lives, but I wouldn't get stuck on it. The implication of the first of the exceptional refuges is that you must think that there's another life beyond your death here. Yeah? It just presumes that. Not only that, it presumes that
But I can think about it, but I can believe it.
you don't have to believe on it. In fact, you shouldn't believe on it. That would be silly. Yeah, I think one of the first things that I was very happy to hear from monks now was that the Buddha said that no one should believe him for the sake of believing. He must test and break every teaching until it makes sense. And that gave me permission just to be honest in my lack of belief around a whole bunch of these things that I just put on the shelf. All I can tell you is that over time, and the more experiences you have to think about them the way you think about it. You can't think about them the way you don't think about them. Does that make sense? So whatever experience you're going to have, if it's there, it's there. If it's there, it's there. If it's there, it's there. It doesn't matter. The key here is that you're invoking a state of mind to the best of your capacity. And if you do it right, that'll increase your capacity. And that's it. You have to be true to yourself, though. You can't pretend. This is not where you lie to yourself and say, oh, I really think that, but in the back of your head that you don't. Because if you just look at the law of karma, you've just planted a seed of doubt or not sureness or lie to yourself or whatever that must come up later. So you don't want to do that. You must be absolutely clear and honest and logical about it. And if something doesn't fit your belief system just now, understand that it's part of a greater teaching and it's there for a reason. Put it on the shelf. That's what I say to you. Because the more you spend time having realizations and experience and learning more and more, the more when you look down at all the things you've been learning, they all make perfect sense. When you move through the levels of understanding of the Dharma, the different levels of teachings, from sutra teachings, open teachings to closed teachings, and then the many contradictions that there are that seems to exist in Buddhist teachings, and there are many, yeah? They're there to do something to you. But the more you practice, the more that you see how perfectly they fit together. Yeah, you ought not be dishonest about what you believe. I think it's beautiful that you are very clear about where what level of experience you can have on these ideas. And we are all having slightly different experiences. And the experiences you're having, if you're honest with yourself, are the ones you're having, are the ones you have to have. Don't push it to the mystical realm of bullshit. Yeah? Please. Because that's colouring it. And if there's a sense of you that knows you're colouring it wrongly, you have to get the result of that. Yeah? Don't do that. Does that answer your question? Yeah, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth refuge is result refuge, which is you as an enlightened being looking back at you right now going, I remember being there. You just got to do this 17 other tricks and then you'll get over here. That state of mind does something. That's the fourth. Yeah. The fifth one is say you yeah, come drop. And that's course refuge. And that's going for refuge in some quality which has already been achieved in another person or being. And we do that to our lamas, we do that to the Buddha, we do that to our teachers. And you would do it to an Arya and Arhat if you had the experience of meeting a being like that. You go to someone that's had the result of what you're seeking. Yeah, who either has the three jewels established in their mind really for you. So if you saw a teacher and you said they've seen emptiness directly, they've had a complete experience of ultimate reality, I know it. If it comes out of you that way, then you go to refuge to them, because they can help you get there. Yeah. By the way, it's the same as the result refuge if you see yourself as having already achieved those qualities. So when you become a Buddha, how many of the three jewels are you? When you are an enlightened being, a Buddha, which we'll talk about the quality of a Buddha later, how many of the three jewels are you? All of them. You're the Buddha jewel because you have a mind of a Buddha, you have the Dharmakaya, yeah, which is the same as the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, is the same as the emptiness of your mind at the moment. That's beautiful. It doesn't mean you're uncovering something, by the way, it's another thing. Then you are the Dharma jewel. Why are you the Dharma jewel? You abide in emptiness, yeah, and you experience reality. And then why are you the Sangha jewel? Because you've seen emptiness and you have the experience of ultimate reality. So you can go to refuge for yourself when you're Buddha. That's awesome. Let's take a break. Let's take a break while you chew on that. Can we be back in 5 minutes, and then I'll do quickly the 8 qualities of a Buddha. Thank you. They look really good. You look like hipsterville, my God. Let's get a bed for that.
There's another one. There's another pair.
I actually like the hipster ones. Oh, that's secretary. I think you should let your hair down. Hello, legs. Hi, look at that. That's awesome. They're nice. Why did you get them?
Right before class.
Really?
Yeah.
They look great, actually.
They're strong, right?
Yeah, they're striking.
No, all I need to do is dye my hair black and get tattoos.
No, I actually like them. I think you could.
They're good, right?
Yeah, very nice.
I'm too old for tattoos anyway. Right, Sam? Oh, I have to stop the video. I'm like, letting the video.